Around 50 electric vehicles caught on fire in Normal, Illinois at a Rivian plant. And Rivian also makes the Amazon Prime delivery van. A few of those have caught on fire as well. This fire occurred Saturday night right around 9:45 in the evening, and initial reports were stating the actual Rivian plant itself was on fire. But after further investigation, it was found that it wasn't actually the plant itself that was on fire, it was a number of vehicles in a parking area. Currently, there are mixed reports on the status of these vehicles. Overall, about 50 vehicles were damaged, and they appear to be brand new R1T pickup trucks and R1S SUVs. From this view, I initially thought this was some type of quarantine area for the vehicles. Typically, the manufacturers will have some type of quarantine area for quality issues with their vehicles. That way, they can go back through their vehicles, they can fix any problems before they make it to the customers. When you're looking at electric vehicles, specifically the battery of these electric vehicles, there's a large hazard there. If they see some type of problem with that battery, they're going to have a specific quarantine area for that vehicle. Now, normally, those vehicles would be stored in an area that is away from other vehicles, keeping any exposures at least 50 feet away from that vehicle. That way, if there is a fire, it's only going to affect that one, not 50 vehicles. And when you look at what's going on here at the Rivian plant, you can see all these vehicles are parked together, end to end, fairly close. They're staged for shipping at this point. I don't think this is actually a quarantine area. It appears that the shipping containers and the fencing was actually brought in after the fire to limit people from being able to see the wreckage. Specifically, look at the tire tracks that seem to go through this shipping container. They appear to be fairly fresh. Also, in the video that's showing these vehicles on fire, you don't see that fencing or shipping container around them. Fires in manufacturing facilities happen fairly frequently. However, they're typically small scaled, handled internally, nothing the fire department's actually responding to. But with electric vehicles, we've seen these types of events a handful of times now, specifically here, but also the large GM incident that happened at the end of last year. And while these two fires were large scale incidents, most of the time the auto manufacturers want to handle these types of battery fires internally, which is a lot easier to do with fleet vehicles. Rivian has produced over 15,000 electric delivery vans for Amazon, and they're deploying these vehicles all over the country. They've also had a handful of fires that have burned multiple vehicles at a time. This incident happened back in 2023 in Salt Lake City. You can see the fire ended up destroying 3 different vehicles that were charging at the time of the fire. From the pictures, it doesn't appear that the fire started in the battery. It seems like it started up front in the charging system and then extended through the vehicle, also causing that battery to go into thermal runaway. After this incident, a tent was constructed to keep people from taking pictures and seeing the damage of these vehicles. It also provided cover so investigators could go in there, tear apart the vehicles, and try to understand what actually started this fire. If you find this type of content useful, it would mean a lot to me if you click that subscribe button. The footage from the more recent incident was far more dramatic. Lucky for us, another content creator, Third Coast Drone, was out on lunch break and caught this great footage. You can see the full video right here. Looking at this video, it appears the fire did start towards the front of that vehicle, again, likely charging related. While researching Rivian incidents, I found a number of charging related fires where you can tell things started in the charging port, and in a lot of instances, the high voltage battery was never involved. And if that high voltage battery is on fire, realistically, any electric vehicle, fire crews should stage back just a little bit further. Stay upwind of the incident because the batteries can off-gas some really toxic stuff, and you want to stay out of that. Now, on a typical vehicle fire, crews are going to be right up next to the incident, probably within 100 feet. But on an electric vehicle, I'd stage back just a little bit further, about 150 feet. And that's what these fire crews did. They were back about 250 feet from what I can tell in this video. And that's a little bit excessive, but it's always better to be safe because it's always easier to start further back than it is to be too close and have to move away. One really interesting thing that happened was this jet flame you're seeing right here. I'm not 100% certain what this was from. I don't think this was specifically from the battery because of the location. I don't have any hands-on time with this battery box. This isn't a vehicle that I've actually looked at torn apart. But this would be an unusual spot to see the battery venting. Now, if this vehicle has a 12-volt lithium-ion battery, this is a behavior I've seen before from a lithium-ion 12-volt battery failing. That long jet flame lasting only a short amount of time. With that said, Where that fire is originating from, I don't believe that's where the 12-volt batteries are located. There are a lot of flammable refrigerants these days, and that could be a failure of the HVAC system, pumping those gases out, producing that jet flame. Now, I also looked a little deeper into the battery, and I did find what appears to be an access panel on top of this battery. If this panel's made out of aluminum, that could open up a hole in the high voltage battery box, allowing gases to vent and allowing us to see this type of jet flame in that specific location. Whoa, what in the world is going on there?
Oh, now you want less pressure? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you put your big boy pants on today.
That explains everything. Worst engineer ever. But realistically, these firefighters are doing a great job. Most people can't comprehend how difficult this job is. Dealing with multiple vehicle fires, 100-degree temperatures outside, baking in that sun. Until you experience that type of heat, wearing full turnout gear, full PPE, it's not something that I can describe to you. It's something you really need to experience. When seeing these types of large scale incidents, it makes me really nervous when you see large quantities of electric vehicles charging indoors. This is something that's going to become more and more common with fleet vehicles becoming electrified. But why am I even talking about this? Combustion engine vehicles burn way more often than electric vehicles, right? Well, look at the vehicle fires that I just talked about. A lot of these are brand new vehicles. On top of that, there's a thing called frequency versus severity.